Yeah, so I think of
Or
6
more
attributes
effective.
to be a good mentor. If
Okay,
you're not
so-
one in a growth mindset for yourself,
Yeah.
always learning, this is one of the reasons I have a problem with this idea of retirement, is because if I spend enough time away, I'm no longer relevant. So always growing. I don't have to be doing the inventorying of all of my products every day to remember inventory, but I should probably be reading about some of the trends in e-commerce if I want to stay a little bit up on e-commerce. And so I should be continually wanting to learn a little bit of that trade as some of the new technologies come on, but the base is the same. And I have an attitude of learning, and mine's all about multiplication and leadership. So why am I not daily growing in the continual learning of that? And so guard against my weaknesses, build on my strengths. 2, you should know what you're good at. You should have a clear understanding of the things you actually would be considered an expert at, that you have wisdom in. Because the reason why you need those 3 things, in my opinion, 3, and probably no more. You're too broad if you've got too many of those. I can be trickily in trouble with that with my age and what I do. Because then if you can't clearly answer that question, you probably are stuck in this, I do master of too many, not really master of a few. And so that's a tricky thing to be in. So what am I really good at? I'm absolutely amazing at building up people. I have a very high EQ. I can quickly read somebody. Now it's very hard for me to train some of that, but I'm really good at people and personality fast. You know it, you've seen it in action. Yeah. So people, it's all around people, hiring them. I've had more than 10,000 interviews. Yeah. I've had more than 2,000 people on my team. People is my thing, right? I love people. It's like part of my gifting. So that's a strength of mine, is how to actually build out a leadership team. And then honestly, the next one is really an amazing strength of mine. I don't need all the information to make a decision. I'm a quick decision maker. I make quick decisions really fast after I read the situation. So much so I get in trouble a lot for coming in and making a quick decision for somebody else who's been struggling with something for a while. So I have to learn to slow down a little bit, ask some questions. Most people are frozen. They need something. So I try to help you with 70%. Can I get you to 70% of the information in order to make a decision? Most people need north of 90% of the information to make real good decisions. But you know why? Because they don't want to fail. So we're caught up in this fear of making the wrong decision.
And what's good is you're disassociated for them.
Yep.
You get to see the worst case scenario is we're going to go down this road, and the worst case scenario is or the best case scenario is here. But you not doing anything keeps us like in.
Yeah, but guys like in my life, like you, who like make really fast decisions. Sometimes you maybe take you in multiple directions.
But I need guidance, man.
But,
I need guidance.
But fail fast.
Yeah.
We learn this in our early age. This is, if you're a leader of a business and you're sitting in that north of 35, south of 45, you're in that accretive knowledge. You're guessing as you go anyway. So you want to fail fast. You want to try something. You want to see the results from it, and you want to iterate and make decisions from it. I mean, your whole idea of time collapsing is built on that entire premise of failing fast and trying stuff.
Right.
Well, people, surprisingly, even though they're in that age bracket, are frozen in making decisions.
Can I ask a question on that?
Yeah.
So the counter of that, from leadership making fast decisions, I love it.
Yep.
How did you slow yourself down with building up leadership teams? Because that's not always the best attribute.
So same 70% rule. So I look at the 70%.
But mentoring down to your leaders,
that's
like
right.
helping them make their 70% decision.
Well, so my shadow, back to this where it started, my shadow's big on an organization. I remember giving a talk at Ryan Dice's event, Traffic and Conversion once, and being the lightning bolt. And like one bad customer service thing, I'd come in and blow up the thoughts of the team. And I remember like really prayerfully considering that time where I had to come to a realization that I needed to see someone have 70% of the capabilities to do the job I was hoping them to do, and give them room to grow, and not stifle them that they're not at 90 or 95%. Yeah. So loving someone through the version where they're at, not where I expect them to be, and not where I would hope they would be, but where they actually are. And that really put a lot of relief on me so that I can love someone to help them grow up. And I learned to ask more questions than statements. So they could grow and they could see. And then I learned to do things like, I'm not good at that. And I gave them the ability. So my whole multiplication matrix is to identify talented people, right? People would claim that I'm a good eaglet spotter. I spot eaglets, right? So I identify them. And then I invite them in to the process of growing. It's like an apprenticeship model. And as part of inviting them in, we go along and we start equipping. which means they have to make decisions. You can't make them for them. One of the things that hero complex people like myself are guilty of is we keep making decisions and we have them on the sidelines watching us. And very early on, I started to help our younger people like learn how to make critical decisions. And so equipping them.
Yep.
And then you got to do the handoff. You got to let them do it and you watch them. And so that's where most of it breaks down. When the handoff goes to happen, most people don't do it. And then if you're going to be around me, I will have already been talking to you all along that the fifth piece of that is expansion. You have to have a multiplication mindset. Who are you going to go invest in now? You know, Rachel's this amazing COO and people love her, but she's a perfectionist. And so one of her hardest problems in her career was this idea of delegation. And so I'd have to help her early on that even though they won't do it as well as you, can they do it as 70% as well as you? And what can we do to train them? And now we've got this great team where she doesn't feel this pressure of doing everything. So I think one of the mistakes a mentor makes is they're still in competing mode. A mentor needs to be a cheerleader. One of the things we don't do well, we don't cheer other people's successes. We're always looking at it. I was guilty of always being a little bit jealous of the guy who's getting more exposure to speak, or the guy whose company's growing bigger, or this dude's doing this. You know, when I started to really see my attributes as a mentor, even inside my own organization, a better multiplier, I was cheering other people's successes. So I think you gotta really develop a muscle for being a cheerleader for your mentees. And if you are worried about competing with them, you've got a wrong perspective in the role on your team. And then one of the other things that is super important is some clarity to the role. Meaning, like, I want to mentor you, but if you're not signed up to be the mentee, like as in we kind of almost like have a little covenant where we have a statement of the expectations between the two of us. Here's like the kind of what's going to be laid out. Why are you really hiring me? You're hiring me for a growth mindset and to help you think bigger. I'm not really here to help you get 3% more on your marketing campaign. I'm not a consultant.
That's really good perspective.